Well, then that next year, 2003, you and Royce Gracie got inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame. The first two people inducted. Dana White said, we feel that no two individuals are more deserving than Royce and Ken to be the charter members. Their contributions to our sport, both inside and outside the octagon, may never be equaled. How did that feel?
Special. I mean, like, you work your whole career to be a champion. And then after you become champion, you work your whole career to be a two-time champion. And then so on and so on. But when it's all said and done, the greatest compliment to any individual that competes in a sport is to be honored by your peers and by your fans. And that is to be inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Okay. Oddly enough, though, you've never gotten into the WWE Hall of Fame.
That's not odd. That's not odd.
Nah?
That's not odd.
Okay.
That's just, just people. Some people just don't like me, and I can't control that. I think that if you look at what a Hall of Fame thing is, it's about if somebody comes in and literally changes things in an organization, makes people guard you differently, changes the way that rules are being brought up, scoring points, doing moves. You look at pro wrestling, and before Ken Shamrock, they had rest holds. They had the sharpshooters, but they didn't have arm bars. They didn't have chokes. They didn't have leg locks. They didn't have the ankle lock. And they did not have tap out. They had I give up or I quit, but no tap outs. Now you see submissions everywhere. You see tap outs all the time. So I think that when you have an individual that comes in and can change an event like that, that's pretty special.
Well, 2004, UFC 48 comes around. You end up beating Kimo Leopoldo, which was a rematch from UFC 8.
Right.
You won by KO. The Ultimate Fighter Team Couture versus Team Liddell finale in 2005. You lost to Rich Franklin. But then in 2006, in UFC 61, you had the rematch with Tito Ortiz. How do you think that went from your point of view?
It was that was same thing. They were starting to get traction. UFC fighter was building. It was giving them some opportunity. The fans wanted to see the Tito Ortiz and Kid Shamrock 2. Me, I wanted it again because I felt like, I went to 3 or 4 rounds into him with it. I felt like, let's give it another shot, see if we can't do better, because I'm a competitor. Like, I have always been able to overcome adversity, and I felt like this was adversity, and that I could figure out a way to win and then go out. And so I took the second fight because I felt like I needed to at least try to avenge that. And of course, it went worse. I mean, they stopped it a lot sooner, even though, in my opinion, I think everyone else's opinion, and that's why we did the third one, was they stopped it way too soon. I mean, like, the punishment I took in the first one, and then they stopped it on, 1 punch or 2 punches that landed? They stopped it. I'm like jumping up going, why didn't you stop that after that first fight? At least let me get there. And so that's why we did the third one, was because that, obviously, that second one was really premature.
Right. So you did Ortiz versus Shamrock 3, the final chapter, where Ortiz beat you by KO. John McCarthy stopped it after he felt there were some undefended fist strikes.
Yeah, there's no question. I was, again, my mentality, because even in the second one, it really wasn't even long enough to even know what my abilities would have been with him. I just felt like that was just way too soon. I didn't even get to really get a chance. But in that third one, he was just dominating. There was just, I knew going in, after I grabbed him, I started rolling with him. I realized at that point, it was like, yeah, this is not going to go well. So I thought John did the right thing.
Well, right after Ortiz beat you, he gave you the middle finger. He did a grave digger routine. And being the king of T-shirts that he is, he put on a shirt that said, punishing him into retirement. But then I guess you approached him and you guys talked. And at that point, you guys shook hands and you buried the hatchet.
Yeah. I realized who Tito was, right? Tito's a guy that's building hype. And although I may not agree with it, like once you beat somebody, it's like, pouring salt into a wound. Why? But that was his thing. He just wanted to keep building his image, keep building his reputation, the bad boy of Huntington Beach. So I didn't take it personal. But just like, that's his thing, do what he does. He beat me, right? There's nothing that I can say or do that's going to change what he's doing. And so I just wanted to make sure, because I knew this would be my last time. And then I wanted to make sure I left on a good note, not a sour note. So I took the high road.
Well, in 2009, you ended up testing positive for steroids. And you got a 1-year suspension. Was steroid use just flagrant in the UFC at that point?
Yeah. Hey, I don't know. I mean, I think that any logical person can figure out that, sports is just covered in stuff. It's just the way it is. And people find ways to cheat. I never found a way to cheat because I never really had to. In other circumstances that I had to do something was probably when I was injured. And that, there was traces of it from that recovery. So, I mean, I never denied it, as far as it being there. It was what it was. And I didn't make excuses of why I did it, right? But it was definitely from injuries and recovering from an injury, trying to rebuild it quicker because you're trying to get back in the ring faster. It just didn't get out of my system.
Well, in 2010, a year later, you had a bunch more fights. You're now 46 years old, really just taking on a lot of punishment. And, a lot of people kind of criticized you of fighting past your prime during that time. There was, a bunch of articles and people taking shots at you, writers and so forth. Did you feel at that point you should have stopped or no?
No. There's one thing that I never wanted to do. I didn't want to walk away from something that I truly loved doing unless I knew that it was time. I hear all the people talk about, going out and fishing when they retire, go out hunting or, doing whatever they do when they want to retire. You know what I wanted to do when I retired? I wanted to fight in small organizations. I wanted to go out there and compete, train, have fun doing it, not having any expectations of winning or losing. Just go and do it because I love being in the gym. I love training with people. I love preparing for fights. And I love going in there and entertaining people by fighting. I loved it. It was in my DNA. I didn't want to walk away from it. I wanted to find a way to do it where I wasn't going to endanger myself. And in other words, trying to fight for any title or fight for rankings, but just fight mid-cards, lower level, and have fun doing it. And that's what I did. And I know I took a lot of criticism for it, but it's my life to live. And I just trying to get people to understand that their retirement and what they feel they want to do to retire, I'm not going to question them on what they want to do when they retire. But when I retired, I wanted to keep fighting. I wanted to fight in lower level organizations, and I wanted to have fun doing it.